Okay, sit yourself on your lift to get started. However, if you feel really tired, an alternative to sitting on your lift is to bring the body into supta baddha konasana. So you can lay down on your back with your feet together and your knees apart. So that's if you're feeling really tired. Otherwise, you can just sit in cross legs. Just have a little wriggle about. Just make sure that you're sitting evenly, and then elevate the heart area upwards and draw your shoulders down. Just that action in itself of lifting up into the heart area, elevating the heart to the skies, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just that action in itself often makes me feel energy when I'm feeling tired. So lifting up into the heart area, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Just spend a few moments filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. Give yourself space in the armpit chest, so try not to clamp your arms into the sides of the body. Bend your elbows out to the sides so that you can breathe into these side ribs. So that as you inhale, you feel the intercostal muscles expand in between the ribs. And then bring your hands into Namaste. Again, this space in the armpits is really important. So lengthen the armpits into the elbows. Give yourself space in the side ribs. So try not to let the arms fall down like this. Bring your arms forward so that you have space in the armpit chest to expand. Just close your eyes and focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations, deliberate exhalations. Feeling that expansion into the side ribs. Allowing the inhalation to be non-resistant. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Reach your chest up to meet your chin. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees. Palms facing upwards, and then as you open your eyes, just work again to lift up into the chest, consciously driving the chest up towards the skies. Just hold on to your knees and use that action of pulling against the knees to assist the lift of the chest further. Take a good deep inhalation, and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across, ribs and your shoulders. Just use your out breath to intensify the turn. And come back to the center, lift up into the chest, elevating the heart area up to the ceiling. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose, and with the following exhalation, turn all the way around to the left, drawing the abdomen across, drawing the ribs and the shoulders. Listening to the breath. And then gently come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, and again, just elevate the chest upwards, just really bringing energy into the chest. Take deep inhalations and deep exhalations. Working to really inflate the chest, driving the chest up to the ceiling. And then just come off your lift and get a couple of blocks. Bring them around the sides of the hips, sukhasana, and then lift again up into the chest. Observe how sitting directly on the floor rather than on the lift feels different in the chest. The chest maybe doesn't feel like it can lift quite as much. So maybe you have to make a little more effort to broaden the collarbone, to squeeze the shoulder blades together. Just bring the left hand underneath the left knee, bring the left elbow onto the block. Bring your left hand onto your hip. And at this stage, just press that right elbow really firmly into the floor so that you can then lengthen this left seat bone right down into the floor. So really activate that right elbow. Press the left seat bones firmly into the floor, and then turn the chest up to face the ceiling. But keep your consciousness in that left seat bone. It will feel lighter. So aim to make it heavier. Reach up and over with the top arm. Turning the head to look underneath the armpit chest, underneath the armpit. Look up to the ceiling, and the sinuses will clear. Keep the arms straight. Keep the lifted arm straight. So can you bring the palm of that lifted hand to look down at the floor? So rotate that palm so it looks down at the floor, so that you can then look up, turning the chest at the same time, keeping that left seat bone stamping down. and then come back to the center. So the opposite seat bone relies on the elbow for kind of leverage. So when you come down, getting hold of that knee, underneath the knee, bring your elbow onto the block, and it's that gives you the leverage to stamp this right seat bone down. I'm never sure if leverage is the American pronunciation. Leverage sounds a bit weird. So lift up into the chest, press that left elbow really firmly into the floor, press in that right seat bone down, and then turn the chest up to face the ceiling, and then reach up and over. Press the left elbow into the floor, stamp that right seat bone down, and then it intensifies the stretch. Turn the chest to face the ceiling, look up, and observe how it clears out the sinuses. Keeping the chest lifted and open. And then come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees and observe how much energetic lift there is in the chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. And then just come off your seat bones and onto all fours. Have your hands as wide apart as the mat. Excuse me. Bring your feet as wide apart as the mat. And then stamping the palms of the hands into the floor. Lifting up into the seat bones. Turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, lifting the seat bones up towards the ceiling. Breathing evenly and deeply. Keeping the heart area elevating up towards the arms. Just feeling the expansion of the ribs and the contraction of the ribs with the out breath. Dog down is a really good position for focusing on the breath. Just let the head hang down. Keep the back of the neck soft. Keep the heart area lifting towards the head. So this week we have been working with the inversions because quite a lot of us have got, or I'm okay for the moment, but I've had kind of colds and coughs and things like that. So just a way to try and boost the immune system. Dog down is a really good inversion position. It's not really classed as an inversion, but the head is lower than the heart, so in some ways it does help to kind of draw the blood into the armpit region. Dog down is a good pose for focusing on the breath. Okay, come step your feet forwards, come up into the standing position. And then have your feet as wide apart as your mat. If you've hurt your back, or if you've got a sensitive back, then do half uttanasana, coming forward with your hands on blocks like this. Otherwise, we're going to do full uttanasana. So place your feet really accurately, pressing the big toes into the floor, stretching the little toes out to the side, and then lift up into the heart area. Raise your arms, open your chest. Raise your arms and your chest to the skies. Activate the legs, tightening the kneecaps. And then bring the thumb into the crease of the opposite elbow. Wrap your fingers around your elbows. And then keep the head lifted, keep the arms lifted as you come forward, hinging precisely from the hips, and only from the hips. And then hang down. Just feel the backs of the legs opening as you hit the shins back so that your weight is in your heels, and then stamp the heels down and then lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs. Continue to inhale and exhale consciously. Breathing deep and even inhalations and exhalations. Just let your head hang down. And this becomes a quietening pose. But lift determinedly with the legs. Lift out of the ankle socket. Lift the shins out of the ankle socket. Lift the kneecaps away from the shins. Lift the thighs away from the kneecaps up into the hip socket. And then release your hands down to the floor. Just pass through half uttanasana for a moment. And then walk your hands towards the end of your mat. Have your hands shoulder width apart. And step back a little. Bring your feet hip width apart, coming back into dog down. And then just returning to the breath. Just observing the movement of your breath. Observing the physiological response to the breath. And then when you're ready, just sit back on your heels, have your big toes together, your knees apart for a moment, and then lift up into the chest, elevating the heart area up towards the ceiling. And then just walk the hands behind you so that the palms are flat, the palms are directly underneath the shoulders, fingers pointing forwards towards the knees, pressing the whole of the palm down into the floor. And again, elevating the heart area upwards. So this, if you've got a bad back, this might be all that you do for this pranayama variation. So press the shins into the floor, press the knees into the floor, and then lift. If your back's okay, lift the tailbone away from the heels, turning the tailbone up towards the ceiling, lifting from the wrists up into the armpits. Lifting the tailbone and then drawing the chin away from the chest. Keeping the breath regular and conscious. And then just bring the seat bones back down onto the heels and then lift yourself back up into just sitting back on your heels, just into Virasana. Just observe the energy in your arms, that lightness of energy that flows as a result of extension, and then come forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana, maintaining the connection between the seat bones and the heels. Press the forehead into the floor. Keep the seat bones down on the heels. Stretching, pressing the forehead into the floor and stretching the skin of the forehead down to gather at the eyebrows. So just keeping the brain quiet by applying some gentle pressure on the front of the forehead. Okay, bring your hands underneath your shoulders and then just sit yourself up. Just sitting back on the heels and just observing the energy in the head. Observing the energy in the head and in the shoulders and in the neck. And then just come off your seat bones and then just sit with your feet really wide. Get a couple of blocks. If you've got a belt handy, grab a belt. So have a belt where you can reach it. When we're sitting in this wide-legged pose, this upavistha konasana, one of the kind of difficulties is that we tend to want to roll onto the tailbone region. So the legs want to rotate outwards, and that makes it really, really hard to lift the chest. So if I roll onto my just off my tailbone onto the kind of lower sacrum, then lifting the chest becomes almost impossible. So push your hands into the floor really firmly, and then try and roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. And turn these legs like you're doing Tadasana. So you lift the thighs up towards the top of the leg and turn the thighs inwards. If you find this tricky, if you can't roll onto the front edge of the seat bones, sit on a folded blanket. You can just sit on just the corner with the tailbone on the corner, just to prop up the tailbone, or you can sit on the whole of the blanket. So just a little satvya, just be kind of honest with how you need to work. Bring your hands behind your hips and then lift your chest up to the ceiling. Keep rolling onto the front edge of the seat bones. Keep turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, lifting up into the chest. If you've got a belt handy, just grab the belt and bring the hands, hold the belt really firmly between the two hands. If you haven't, just raise your arms up. Work to really straighten your arms. Lift up into your heart area. Try and pull on the belt, or just keep the arms really straight if you don't have a belt. Just listen to the breath. Fill in the lungs evenly. Fill in the side ribs. Feeling the front chest, turning the thighs inwards. And then release. And then get the blocks. And then if you've got a bad back, just stay at this stage. Press the fingertips onto the blocks. Keep the chest lifted. If there's no problem with your back, or if this position doesn't aggravate it, if forward bending doesn't aggravate it, then just a little bit at a time. Pressing the palms onto the blocks. Lifting the chest. Just coming forward just a little bit at a time. Stamping the legs down into the floor. That's really important. And then just come back to the center and then bring the feet into swastikasana. So just in swastikasana, just hold onto your knees and spend a few moments just to observe the warmth around the chest. Lifting up into the heart area, drawing the shoulders down. Breathing evenly and deeply. So we're going to do a little bit of alternate nostril breathing. This is really good for strengthening the lungs. It's really good for clearing out the sinuses. So if you would prefer, you can go back to the lift that you sat on before, because perhaps if you sit on that lift, then it gives you more access into lifting the chest. Lifting the chest just becomes altogether more natural and easier is the word that we're really looking for. So sit on your lift in a good cross-leg position, lifting up into the heart area. So alternate nostril breathing. Remember, you breathe, you close one nostril and then you breathe out and then in, and then you swap over, out and then in. So you always do an out breath first and then an in breath. You can make the breath quite forceful. We're really trying to flush out the sinuses, so it's this kind of udanic breath in the cheekbone region. So just lift up into the chest, and with your right hand, just rest your right hand on your forehead. And then we're going to start by closing the right nostril, but just take some normal breaths to start off with. Just get used to breathing in and out through the nose. So we do 10. So take a normal in breath, a normal out breath, a normal in breath, and then you're going to cover the right nostril and then exhale through the left, inhale through the left, and then swap, and then continue that way until you've done 10. And then when you have done your 10, just bring the breath back to a normal, just normal nostril breathing. So just notice maybe you can breathe a little more deeply. Just listening to the breath. Just lift up into the heart area. And with an exhalation, turn to the right side. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees. Just elevate your heart upwards and then turn to the left. And then come back to the center, lifting up into the heart area. Just spend a little moment just observing your energy. Just hold onto your knees and draw your chin forwards and bring the chin down to meet the chest, lifting the chest up to meet the chin. Jalandhara Bandha. So just focus on lifting the chest, lifting the chin. So drawing the chin down to the chest, and then incorporate Mula Bandha, lifting the anal sphincter up towards the diaphragm region. And then just focus on filling the lungs evenly, filling them from the bottom to the top, and allowing the lungs to overflow into the arms and into the chest and into the legs. Normal exhalations. Just one more cycle of breath. And then Release Mula Bandha, release Jalandhara Bandha, and then raise your head. Okay, we're going to go into supta baddha konasana. So just come off your lift and then get a bolster if you have one, or you can use cushions if you don't. Get a bolster and then have a blanket for your head, and then just come down into supta baddha konasana. So pulling the feet towards you and the bolster close to your back, and then lifting the heart area up as you bring yourself down. Have the blanket underneath the back of the neck and the head, and then bring your arms down onto the floor, either side of the shoulders, either side of the side ribs. And then again, just first of all, just make sure that you feel level. If there is stiffness in your hips, then you can support the thighs with some blocks. Just listen to the breath. Listen to the breath as it enters and as it exits, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Now, conventionally, you do brahmari pranayama sitting up, but I find that doing brahmari in supta baddha konasana like this allows me, it gives me this feeling of connection with the ground, and the ground really helps to dissipate the resonance of the out breath hum more deeply into the bones, into the chest and into the abdomen and into the legs. So we use the focus of the breath against the floor to just resonate more deeply. So after a few normal inhalations, normal exhalations, we're going to do a little bit of brahmari, maybe 5 or 6 exhales on a low hum until the lungs are empty with a normal inhalation. Just take a normal exhalation, a normal inhalation, and then we'll begin. few more. And just one final brahmari. And then just bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. Just hold on to the resonance in the chest and in the solar plexus, and in the throat and in the face. Just retaining the resonance of the sound. And then just push your elbows into the floor, lift the heart area. First, try not to poke your head forwards as you come up into the seated position. And then we're just going to come into the supported Adho Mukha Virasana, supported child's pose. So have the bolster between the knees, lift up into the heart area, and then just come forwards, stretching your arms forwards, rest your head on one side. And try to breathe into the back chest. Try to inflate the air into the back chest. Swap the position of your head. And then extend the chin forwards. Lengthen into the chin. Breathing into the back chest. Stretching into the arms. Aiming to inflate the lungs all the way into the top of the back chest. And then just bring your hands underneath your shoulders and push yourself up into a seated position. So we're going to come into our restorative surfboard pose. So have your bolster where it is, have a block for your head, and then just transfer your blanket over onto the block so that it's soft and it's a little bit higher than the block. Now, Arthur's sitting on my thing that I usually use for underneath my shins, but if you can put a rolled up blanket or something underneath your shins, then that's good. Don't worry if you don't have that. So you're just going to come forwards down onto your front, and the idea is that your head needs to be clear of the end of the bolster. So for me, that means that my kind of pelvis is sitting on the end of the bolster, but it depends on the length of your body. The important thing is that your head is clear of the end of the bolster, and then bring the block in to support your head, and then just rest your arms on the floor, just bending the elbows out to the sides a little, letting the hands rest into the floor, and then just completely release into the floor. And then we're going to do our back breathing exercise where we breathe into the shoulder blade region and out into the armpits with the in-breath, and then just a normal exhalation. And then the next breath is into the middle of the back and out to the side ribs, and then a normal exhalation. And then the third breath is breathing down into the back of the pelvis and out into the hips. And then a normal exhalation, and then you just rotate around those 3 different breaths: top chest, middle chest, bottom back. So really consciously breathing into the back chest, which we don't normally do. And just finish the cycle that you're on. And bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. And then when you're ready, bring your hands back underneath your shoulders, and then just push yourself up into a seated position, and then just sit on your bolster. Just come into cross legs, holding onto your knees, lifting the heart area upwards, and then bring your hands into Namaste. Draw your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen. Conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that light but profound energy that brings lightness and effervescence into the blood. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then very gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to gently open and the focus to gently come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you have lifted your energy and give yourself some good positive energy to put into your day.